Lanka's contemporary cricket legends Kumar Sangakkara and Mahela Jayawardene are bidding their final goodbye to ODI cricket on home soil at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo.
Incidentally, it was Dilshan's day. Playing his 300th ODI, Dilshan laid the platform for the late charge, becoming only the 5th Sri Lankan batsman to score 9,000 ODI runs.
We have all the action from Ketarama coming up on Sports First.
Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your #1 news provider. I'm Shamir Rasooli.
And I'm Nicola Dizoiza. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
APTP and TNA members clash at the Jaffna District Development Committee meeting. I am not prepared to reverse the victory that was achieved, a statement from the President. Presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena pledges to investigate the harassment of journalists. Win or lose, Mahinda Rajapaksa will be president, a statement from the Federation of National Organizations.
Very velamat dinuwat, e dinuwat, awurud dekak yanaturu janadipati Mahinda Rajapaksamai.
Artists supporting Maithripala Sirisena lament the fate that has befallen the arts.
දේශපාලඥයෝ බවට පත් කලාකාරයෝගේ ළබට කට පුම්බල කියන්න පුළුවන් මිනිස්සු එතන ගාල් වුණා.
At least 126 people, mostly children, killed as Taliban gunmen storm a school in Peshawar, Pakistan.
And on our top story tonight, a clash broke out between representatives of the Elam People's Democratic Party, or EPDP, and representatives of the Tamil National Alliance during the Jaffna District Development Committee meeting this morning. Our reporter says that the Northern Province Agriculture Minister P. Aingaranesan and Provincial Councillor K. Sarveshwaran were injured in the incident.
The final Jaffna District Development Committee meeting for the year convened today and was presided over by co-chairs Minister Douglas Devananda and Northern Province Chief Minister C.B. Vigneswaran. The co-chairs first addressed the meeting. Our reporter says that a heated argument broke out when Minister Douglas Devananda called on TNA Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivajalingam to halt his address midway. He added that representatives, including the Chief Minister of the Northern Province, left the meeting room at the time.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa requested the voters today to make a correct decision, as this is a decisive election that will determine the future of the country. The head of state made this request during a tour of Colombo.
The Presidential Campaign Coordinating Office in Halstop was declared open today under the auspices of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Later, the head of state declared open the Presidential Campaign Coordinating Office in Gotatua. The President then took part in an event organised by the Chief Coordinator of the UPFA in Boralla, MP Thilanga Sumatipala.
Speaking in Narayanpeta yesterday, President Mahinda Rajapaksa said he is not prepared to reverse the victory that was won.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa met with tuition class teachers at the Shalika grounds in Narayanpeta yesterday.
විදායක ජනාධිපති ධූරය අවුරුදු 11ක් හිටිය විධායක ජනාධිපති කමේ මේක වෙනස් කරන්න කිසි විටක දත් කරේ නැහැ. මේක ශක්තිමත් කරන්න.
They speak of the executive presidency today, but they were in this position for 11 years and never attempted to change it. I know they tried to win the UNP over to make it stronger. I know they spoke of making Karu Jayasuriya Prime Minister. They were waiting for Rukman Senanayake to come over to give him premiership. Ratnasiri Wickramanayake was asked to resign. They said to wait and see that Karu Jayasuriya was on his way to accept this. That was their hope then. Even we waited and looked on back then. But we have identified the need to change the entire constitution. It cannot be tampered with one by one. The consequences need to be considered, for example, with the 13th Amendment. This is mudslinging politics. It is easy to talk.
ඒක ඇති වෙන ඊළඟට ඒක තුලින් ඇතිවිය හැකි ප්‍රතිවිපාක අද මඩ දේශපාලනය බොහොම ලේසි කියන්න
රාජපක්ෂ වර්ගය
The president also attended a rally held in Nellore, Galle.
දැන් මම අහගෙන හිටිය දවසක් ඊයේ කියනවා එයාපෝට් එක වහනවා ගුවන් තොටුපොළ
I heard them say yesterday that they would close the airport. They would close the airport and not let me flee. By the gods, we have never fled and neither will we flee. He was a minister for several years. He had 3 portfolios. And then he had to wait for the time when he would be the prime minister. When it was delayed, he went over to the other side to try and become president.
ඔව් ඉතින් අගමැති වෙන්න ඉන්න බෑ වෙලා වෙනකම්. ඉතින් මේක පරක් වුණාම අනිත් පැත්තට ගියා ජනාධිපති වෙන්න. මට මතක් වෙන්නේ අර පිළිහුඩුවටයි කාක්කටයි වෙච්ච වැඩේ. කාක්කයි පිළිහුඩුවයි යාළු වුණා. ඉතින් පිළිහුඩුවට ගොඩක් රැගි මට
The crow and the kingfisher became friends. The kingfisher catches the fish and gives it to his friend, the crow. After some time, the crow thought, if the kingfisher can do it, why can't I? And he jumped, got caught and died. He was trapped. There is a similarity between him and the crow. He tried to be the crow.
කල්ලන් ඉන්න කියලා මූ පැන්නා. පැන්න ගමන් සෙවලවලට අහුණා ඌ මැරුණා. හිර වෙලා. ඉතින් ඒක වගේ තමයි මේක කාක්කා වගේ වෙන්න ගියා එකට ඉඳලා.
Speaking at an event held in Pittikote last evening, presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena claimed that attempts are being made to distort statements made on the campaign stage.
At a meeting, I said that when our government, the new government, comes to power, we will not allow anyone who is involved in massive fraud, corruption and thievery escape from the country. We will catch them and punish them. They will not be allowed to leave the country. This is spreading amongst the persons who defrauded millions upon millions. They are saying that I said that I will close down the airport. I must have some sort of mental problem to make such a statement. What I said was that with our resounding victory, some will attempt to flee the country. We must not look at this from an illegal point of view, but from a legal aspect. They need to be caught and must be brought before the law. Therefore, I am saddened with such statements. However, the government and the alliance, along with the state media, have seen a downfall. They are distorting the statements we make and are spreading them. This is how they are attempting to win the election. However, no matter what, we know the people's power is for us. We will win.
හැබැයි රජය සහ සන්දානය සහ රාජ්‍ය මාධ්‍ය බරපතල විදිහට පිළිහිලා තිබෙනවා. මේ විදිහට ඊටාම අසත්‍ය ප්‍රචාර කරමින් අපේ කතා විකෘති කරමින් මෙහෙම තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ඡන්දේ දිනන්න හදන්නේ. හැබැයි ඒ කොහොම කරත් අපි දන්නවා ජනතා බලය අපිටයි අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා.
Presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena expressed these views at the event held to unveil the book titled Doom Boom Economy, authored by Patli Champika Ranawaka.
අර තෙල් සංස්ථාවේ දැවිතෙන් ඒවා පිටරටට විකුණන්නේ රුපියල් 58ට.
The furnace oil at the CPC is sold internationally at 58 rupees. However, it is sold to the Ceylon Electricity Board for 90 rupees. This is added to our electricity bill by the CEB as a surcharge. The profit at the People's Bank last year was 7 billion rupees. The CEB has paid People's Bank 7 billion in interest last year. So how is People's Bank functioning? Of the CEB, who is paying for the self-destructive investments of the People's Bank? The electricity consumer.
විදුලි පාරිභෝගිකයන් මේවා හෙන ගහන අපරාධ නේද?
Is this the economic miracle? They may be politicians or officials. They must be punished.
ඒවට වගකිය යුතු මිනිස්සුන්ට ඒගොල්ලෝ නිලධාරීන් වෙන්න පුළුවන් ඒගොල්ලෝ දේශපාලකයෝ වෙන්න පුළුවන් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම දඩුවම් දිය යුතුයි.
අපි මෙතනදී පොරොන්දුවක් වෙනවා. ඒ පොරොන්දුව තමයි කිසිම විදියකට මේ සංවාද
We will make a promise here. These development processes will not be stopped by the government elected on the 9th. All these development processes will be taken forward. However, there will be one big change. That is, if the engineers at the Department of Railways using their technology can construct a kilometre for 60 million rupees, we will do it for 60 million rupees. We will not spend 1,200 million rupees for it.
එහෙනම් අපි ඒක රුපියල් මිලියන 60ට හදනවා කියලා අපි පොරොන්දු වෙනවා. රුපියල් මිලියන 1,400ට හදන්නේ නැතුව.
There are dances being hosted for 5,000 persons. The lunch packet for one person costs 950 rupees. There is a commission in that too. When 5,000 lunch packets are being ordered, each is priced at 950 rupees. We too have seen lunch packets. Over the recent past, during the rallies attended by Mahinda Rajapaksa, I too distributed lunch packets. If not, there will be no one at those rallies. Now they are just going. This is good for me because I have no expenses. Because we are with the opposition, no one asks for food.
Presidential candidate of the Democratic National Front, Maithripala Sirisena, says that investigations will be launched into incidents of journalists being harassed and the perpetrators will be brought to book. Maithripala Sirisena made this pledge while addressing a group of journalists today.
The convener of the Free Media Movement, Sunil Jasekara, put forward a number of proposals to the presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena at this event. The proposals contained several suggestions on subjects including media freedom, abolishing the censorship in media and social responsibility. Throughout my political career, never have I had problems with the media institution or with journalists. I have always opposed impediments put out against journalists, be it under the present government or under any other government for that matter. I would like to clearly state that once I come into power, I will be a national leader who will respect and protect the rights of free media.
Even when you were in the government, no action was taken against continuous threats against journalists. Can you take responsibility and tell us that within this time frame, perpetrators will be punished for the crimes such as the killing of Lasantha Wickrematunge and threats against journalists?
Even I have the need. However, some of those who murdered these journalists and those who harassed journalists have fled the country. I am strongly with the policy to hold an impartial investigation and bring them before the law and punish them.
The mother-in-law of Maithripala Sirisena, D.L. Harriet, passed away this morning.
D.L. Harriet passed away while receiving treatment at the Kurunegala Base Hospital. She was a mother to a son and 4 daughters. D.L. Harriet was 76 years of age at the time of her demise. The wife of Maithripala Sirisena, Jayanthi Sirisena, was the 3rd daughter of D.L. Harriet. Her remains are currently lying at number 417 Valivaria South, Ambaralua, for the public to pay their final respects. The final rites will be observed at the Valivaria Crematorium on the 18th of this month.
Welcome back to the news. The Federation of National Organizations says that win or lose, President Mahinda Rajapaksa can serve for 2 more years. Representatives of the Federation made this statement at the opening of the Federation's National Campaign Office in Rodney Place, Porella.
2015 ජනාධිපති වර්ණය පවත්වන්නේ ජනාධිපති දුර කාලයේ අවසන් වෙලා නෙමෙයි. තව වසර 2කට කාලය තියෙද්දි.
When the election is held in 2015, the president's term will not have ended. He has 2 more years. At present, Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected through an election, but he took oaths 2 years later. It was done constitutionally. So Maithripala Sirisena, Chandrika and Ranil should know what the constitution is. I do not know whether they have not thought about it or whether they are saying it regardless. If by chance they do win, Mahinda Rajapaksa will still be president for 2 more years. That cannot be changed. His term will be intact.
එකක් යනතුරු ජනාධිපති මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂමයි. ඒක වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ. එතකොට ඒ දුර කාලේ එහෙම තියෙනවා.
Now, can the president remain in power for 2 more years if he wins or loses? At a rally held in Piliyandala yesterday, JP leader Anurakumar Dissanayake responded to this question.
At first they said victory was certain. Now what are they saying? They will not leave even if they are defeated. They cannot say that they will leave if defeated, and inside those around them, they have a small team around them. Now the employees of the Road Development Authority must run. Employees of the Ports Authority must run. The chairman of the corporations must run. If they tell them that they will leave if they are defeated, then those people will leave the very next day. I saw him say on the stage that he has 2 years left anyway. This is a new theory. Then both the defeated and victorious candidate will be there. The person who was defeated will sit in the president's chair for 2 more years, and the victorious person will stay on the outside. Are there any countries like this? Mr. Rajapaksa, leave alone 2 years. You will not be able to stay for 24 hours. If you are defeated at the election, you must be prepared to leave the next day. I guarantee it.
Dissanayake also spoke on the 2005 presidential election campaign.
The largest amount of money in history has been pumped into this election. How many cutouts have they put up? On average, the cutouts are half as big as a clock tower. It cost about 2 million rupees to put up each of these cutouts. They have spent 400 million on cutouts. This is the wealth of the people. In 2005, Mr. Rajapaksa did not have enough money to print the last batch of campaign posters. I state this with responsibility. The JVP printed the last batch of posters on credit. They are yet to repay that debt. I state this with responsibility. We printed those posters for them on credit. That was the state of the family then. Look at the amount of wealth they are spending on cutouts now.
An SLF peer who adheres to the principles of Bandaranayake and Sirimao Bandaranayake will not vote for Mahinda. That is the truth. They are frustrated. There are senior SLFP members in the villages. Even my father is a staunch SLF peer. He is not among the living now. I tried numerous times to get him to the JVP. He said, "Lal, you do what you need to do and I'll do what I need to do." That was his position. In the evenings, he would pluck some flowers and place it before Bandaranayaka's photograph. He voted for Chandrika too, but not because she was good. He considered it a vote for Mr. Bandaranayake. That is the type of people they have. The SLFP now does not have the Bandaranayake principles. That ended with Chandrika. This is the true story.
Several local authority politicians from the UPFA pledged support to New Democratic Front presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena today.
UPFA member of the Attanagala Pradeshiya Sabha Indika Rajapaksa and UPFA member of the Meerigama Pradeshiya Sabha Somaratna Jayanetti met with the former president Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga today. We can see that the rule of law has fallen to the power of the executive. While witnessing this destruction, I have felt for some time now that this system needs to change. It is possible that I may be shot and murdered after I go to Attanagala. That is the environment in Attanagala. I am not afraid of this. I have decided to become a strength against corruption in the country and to make Maithripala Sirisena victorious. I do not have any personal problem with them. I am completely against the corruption that is taking place and I have come here to resolve this.
No matter who it is, if they are engaged in fraud or corruption, then we will break off and fight against it. I do not want to see a young generation that grovels before the sons or works towards making the sons kings. I want to see a child born to a mother on the beaches of Chilaw rise to become president of the king. We have been in Gampaha for 20 generations. Attanagala is the ancestral home of the SLFP. If we touch something, it will not go wrong.
Convening a media briefing today, the United People's Freedom Alliance stated that it will, in the coming days, reveal all information on alleged secret meetings and transactions undertaken by the opposition politicians in Singapore.
They are all assisting in a conspiracy against Mahinda Rajapaksa. We will reveal all in the future. According to information we have, Maithripala Sirisena, Ranil Wickremesinghe, Mangal Samaravira, Fonseca and everyone else have frequently travelled to Singapore. What did they discuss? What are they speaking about? I will say one thing to the people of this country. There is a major attempt to destabilize the country that we have made stable. Meetings are held in hotels, transactions are made, accounts are opened in banks, money is going into these accounts. By tomorrow and the day after, you will be able to know all of this. Why do they all go to Singapore this way? Why do they all stay at the same hotel? We must inform you on all of this.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party Sajith Premadasa, addressing a gathering held in Hambantota today, said that presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena had promised to render his fullest support in the development of Hambantota.
The Walava Electorate Council meeting in Ambalantota was held under the auspices of parliamentarian Sajith Premadasa today.
මම මේ ස්ථානයට එන්නට පෙර අපේ ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂක මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමා මට දුරකථන ඇමතුමක් දුන්නා.
Before we arrived at this location, our presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena called me over the phone. He asked me to convey a clear promise to the people of Hambantota. In the forthcoming presidential elections, when Maithripala Sirisena is overwhelmingly strengthened, he stated that he will render his fullest support to myself and our group with the continuous development of the Hambantota district.
This is a good weapon for any man working towards developing the country. J.R. Jayawardena has not seen thieves. D.S. Senanayaka, Dudley Senanayaka, John Kothalawala, S.W.R. Bandaranayaka, Sirimavo Bandaranayaka were leaders who took decisions on behalf of the country and not with the mere intention of committing fraud. Thereby, J.R. Jayawardena would have never thought that this country would ever see the birth of Alibaba and the 40 thieves. What praise and glory might President Mahinda Rajapaksa have received if he had considered the plight of the poor in the country?
UPFA parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa participated in campaigning for the presidential election in several areas.
MP Namal Rajapaksa met with people in the Balangoda town yesterday. Subsequently, he met with officials of the Kolonna Elections Committee.
They said recently that on the 8th, there will be good governance and a Maitri rule. They said the Katunayake airport will be closed on the 8th. They said they will not let anyone leave. They will only let people they want to leave. So much for good governance. But it is okay. Our father built Matala. Others can travel now. They have forgotten it. They have forgotten Matala. We do not know who is going to live though. Even if we are to be shot, we will not abandon the country.
Meanwhile, a group of artists convened a media briefing today, pledging their support to the presidential candidate of the New Democratic Front, Maithripala Sirisena.
Intellectuals and senior artists were present for this media briefing in Colombo.
පාරවල් හැදුවට ගොඩනැගිලි හැදුවට ලෝකෙ නිෂ්පාදනය කරන සියලු දේවල් පරිභෝජනය කළා.
Roads have been built and buildings constructed and everything manufactured by the world is being used, but the country doesn't develop. The social and cultural life of a country should be nourished with meaningful human values. I believe that at this decisive juncture, we must all be strong and committed to this cause. That is our aspiration.
අවස්ථාවේදී අපි සියලු දෙනාම ශක්ති ප්‍රමාණයෙන් කැප වෙන්නට ඕන කියන එකයි මගේ ආකල්පය අදිෂ්ඨානය.
මේ කලා නිර්මාණ තුලින් ඇත්ත දකිනවා මිනිස්සු.
Through these productions, people see the truth. Today, the government wants to hide the truth and push people away. What's more, they are succeeding. That is why we, artists, have taken a stand against this.
තමයි කලාකරුවන් නැගී සිටින්න අවශ්‍ය. මේ පහුගිය කාලේ ඉඳන්ම කලා ශේෂ්ත්‍ර අන්තිම පරිහානියට ගියා. මේ තමයි මැරෙයින්ගේ දේශපාලනය.
The cinema industry has been spiraling downwards for a while now. This is the politics of thugs. A group of thugs have become politicians. In the meantime, our fellow artists also got drawn into this trap. They sold their creativity and skill in production.
විකුණලා ටෙන්ඩර් මගදී ඔය එක එක කොන්ත්‍රාත් අරගෙන ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි කලාකාර.
මේ සෑම රජයකින්ම අඩන්තේට්ටම් වලට ලක්.
All these people have been pressured, involved in various plots of revenge and influence. It is wrong for artists to be treated this way. If we don't struggle now, it is not a struggle that will end on the 8th. It will go on even after the 8th. But if we don't struggle now, artists will forever be treated this way.
Two petitions were filed at the Court of Appeal today seeking an order for the removal of election-related cutouts, posters and billboards displayed in the Colombo, Kadwala and Devila Mount Lavinia municipalities. This petition was filed by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka.
The petitioners request that a writ of mandamus be issued on the mayors, municipal commissioners and the election commissioner in order to carry out the removal of such propaganda material located within the municipalities. As per a decision reached by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, we have directed letters of demand to the respective mayors and the urban commissioner. The letter states that Article 74 of the Presidential Election Law is being violated by the Municipal Council, and with the approval of the Executive Committee of the BASL, we have filed cases against the municipal councils. We will present facts so that notices will be issued in the respondence of this case tomorrow. Meanwhile, the All Ceylon Transport Workers Union called on the Elections Commissioner and explained the issues faced by the SLTB employees during the election period. The voting rights of SLTB employees have been violated. The depot employees have a mandatory right to engage in postal voting. On the day of the election, they need to cast their vote before the respective officials. This is the view that stands at all SLTB depots. At SLTB institutions, the picture of one candidate, that is the picture of Mahinda Rajapaksa, is being pasted. Pictures of other candidates are not allowed. Handbills are not allowed to be distributed. This is wrong. SLTB buses are being used for cheap election propaganda. This is wrong.
Speaking at an event held in Colombo today, opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe pledged to initiate a program to attract high-spending tourists to the country.
Ranil Wickremesinghe met with representatives of the tourism industry in Colombo today. I want an industry that looks to the future. If they are coming from China, then bring the Chinese who have money. What happens now is that the wealthy Chinese go to the Maldives and the beggars come here. We must protect our shores. If we destroy the environment, if we put up the port city, then the entire coast from Kalpitia to Hikkadua via Colombo will be destroyed. We will establish a good tourism industry. The people will be able to live through this and the name of Sri Lanka will sparkle. Businessmen who attended the meeting questioned the opposition leader on the port city project. Sir, the reclamation of 600 acres of land for the port city will result in the destruction of the tourist beach in Negombo. Business people are afraid that the coast in Beruwala, Bentota, Ahungalla, Kalutara and Hikkadua will be destroyed. Under the presidency of Maitri, under your government, will the port city project be implemented or stopped?
You're with News First, your number one news provider. Coming up on the news tonight. Children slaughtered as Taliban stormed school in Peshawar, Pakistan. More details later on in the news bulletin.
In business news, the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance and Planning, Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, stated that allegations raised against the expenses of the country are unreasonable. He made this statement addressing a workshop in Colombo today.
The workshop was held to educate the public on the country's road development projects.
Since I'm the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance and Planning, I have to take in all the allegations put forth against the Ministry. The Secretary is liable to all orders and ventures put forth by the Minister. The building of roads, water management, these are all facilitated with pre-planning, just like in other countries like China and India. All these countries have a water management system of their own. Along with the funds provided from either China or India, they also provide us with an engineer that they propose. The work at hand is to figure out whether this cost is acceptable to us or not, technologically speaking.
Ajit Nivad Cabral is the governor of the central bank, and he says that long-term decisions taken on a sustainable long-term basis are essential to attract people and investments to the country. He made this statement at an event held in Colombo today.
The Global Commerce Excellence Award ceremony was held in Colombo last evening. The biannual event is held to recognize the top 100 performances in the global commerce industry and its service sector of Sri Lanka. Speaking at the event, CBSL Governor Ajit Niwadkabwal expressed these views.
I was reading about the interstate highways that were developed in the US in 1954, and I'm told that until 1982, people were criticizing that these highways were built. Similarly, we have seen, even in our own country, some of the mega developments that have been put in place, like developments of ports, developments of airports, developments of road, sometimes being criticized. But we need to, as responsible governments, as well as responsible government agencies and responsible private sector, to always remember that it takes long-term decisions on a long-term basis which is sustainable for people to be attracted towards those countries and to have investment decisions that are long-term as well.
A few years ago it was Malala Yousafzai, but today it's a number of people. The death toll from a Taliban attack on a school in Peshawar, Pakistan has risen to 135, with most of those killed children. Pakistani officials say the attack is now over, with all of the attackers killed, although security forces are still checking for bombs.
Scores of survivors are being treated in hospitals as frantic parents search for news of their children.
The attack is the deadliest ever by the Taliban in Pakistan.
The attack began in the morning hours with about half a dozen gunmen entering the school and shooting at random. Army commandos quickly arrived at the scene and exchanged fire with the gunmen. Outside the school, shooting was initially heard along with one loud bang of unknown origin. Details were sketchy in the face of the overwhelming tragedy. Pakistani television showed soldiers surrounding the area and pushing people back. The school is located on the edge of a military cantonment in Peshawar, but the bulk of the students are civilians. Taliban spokesman Muhammad Khurasani claimed responsibility for the attack in a phone call to media, saying that 6 suicide bombers had carried out the attack in revenge for the killings of Taliban members at the hands of Pakistani authorities. Now, the statement by the militant group added that the gunmen had been ordered to shoot older students but not children. Peshawar has been the target of frequent militant attacks in the past, but has seen a relative lull recently.
Now, my producer Joel Outskoon just informed me a short while ago that we were able to speak to our Pakistan bureau correspondent who is based in Peshawar, Pakistan, Eza Ullah, for a situation report. Let's take a listen to what Ullah had to say.
According to different sources, including ISPR, that more than 100 people, including children and women, have been died so far in this incident, and more than 200 people have been injured. The injured people have been shifted to the tertiary care hospital of Peshawar, including Lady Reading Hospital and Khyber Teaching Hospital and Hayakabad Medical Complex. CTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, Muhammad Khurasani has claimed the responsibility of the attack. According to the independent sources, it has been quoted by the Muhammad Khurasani that the attack is the revenge of the military offense in tribal areas of Pakistan, military offense of against the militants in South Waziristan and Khyber Agency, which is the tribal areas of Pakistan. High officials including Mia Nawaz Sharif, Prime Minister of Pakistan, General Raheel Sharif, Chief of Army Staff, Pakistan, has been PTI, Pakistan Tehreek Staff Chairman, Pakistan Tehreek Staff Chairman Imran Khan has been also on the way to Peshawar.
In more international news, the deadly siege of a central Sydney cafe has ended, but the investigation is just beginning.
Now, the sources say the cafe manager killed in the dramatic final moments of a siege in Sydney was shot while trying to grab the gunman's weapon.
Loud explosions and yelling could be heard from outside the Lindt Chocolate Cafe in Sydney's Martin Place when armed police stormed the building about 2 a.m. The man responsible was earlier named as Man Haroon Monis, an Iranian cleric on bail for a string of violent offences. 17 people were taken hostage by the self-styled Iranian cleric Manharun Monis shortly before 10 a.m. last morning, but 5 ran free later that afternoon. Police said 3 female hostages aged 75, 52 and 43 sustained gunshot wounds and all were in a stable condition. A police officer was treated for a minor gunshot wound to his face and discharged from hospital. 2 pregnant hostages aged 30 and 35 were assessed at the scene. The gunman at the centre of the 16-hour siege was also killed. The 2 hostages who died in the Sydney siege have been named as Katrina Dawson, aged 38, and the manager of the Lind Cafe, Tory Johnson, aged 34. Police in Sydney will investigate whether the 2 hostages were killed by the gunman or died in the crossfire.
They are now working through interviewing everybody who was involved. There are a lot of people for them to interview, and a lot of people are very tired at the moment. A lot of people are very emotional. We have to consider people's health and their welfare and their mental health at the moment. So this will take time for us to gather all the information so that we can piece together bit by bit exactly what happened.
Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott says the gunman responsible for the siege was well known to authorities.
What we do know is that the perpetrator was well known to state and Commonwealth authorities. He had a long history of violent crime, infatuation with extremism and mental instability.
Australians offered flowers in front of the cafe today. The mound of flowers in front of the Lind Cafe in Martin Place was growing quickly as security personnel guided passers-by to the cordoned-off area where they laid their offerings, some standing for a moment in silence before walking away. The area near the cafe remained cordoned off with bystanders and passing office workers leaving flowers under the police tape. We are now joined by our Newsfirst bureau correspondent from Sydney, Nirodhya Ranasinghe.
It's been a very chilling day for the public of Australia as they're coming to terms with such a horrific incident. Thousands of people have gathered at the scene, completely covering the area with condolences, with flowers and tributes to all the hostages and all the victims of the incident. Social media has had a huge outburst of support, with even random members of the public offering to ride with any individuals, in particular Muslim Australians who are uncomfortable or feel frightened to travel on public transport. So the public have made a hashtag as "I'll ride with you," and that's now gone viral amongst the public in Australia as a gesture of solidarity. Despite the events that have happened in the past day, the country has united in sadness and offers continuous support and assurance to all of those who are affected by the Sydney siege, friends and family of the victims. And although Australia has a heavy heart, the public are offering gestures of solidarity to support and stand by one another. My name's Nirodhya Ranasinghe from Sydney, Australia for News First.
England lost their 9th wicket a short while ago on 193 runs, chasing the 303-run target set by Sri Lanka in the dead rubber 7th and final ODI at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Incidentally, this is the last ODI match on home soil for living legends Kumar Sangakkara and Mahela Jayawardene.
They came out in droves to bid final goodbye to their heroes on home soil, but it was Tilakaratne Dilshan playing in his 300th ODI that led the charge. Opening the innings for Sri Lanka today, Mahela Jayawardene was dismissed for 28 runs. Kumar Sangakkara, who came in 1 down, was dismissed for 33. However, Dilshan instilled hope in Sri Lankan fans, fearing a transition from the Sangha-Mahela era with a well-played 101. His 18th ODI century, which also took him over the 9,000 ODI runs milestone, making him the 5th Sri Lankan batsman to do so. Angelo Matthews was dismissed for 20 runs, however a late burst from Thisara Perera and Dinesh Chandimal put Sri Lanka in a commanding position. The duo thrashed 63 from 29 balls in a blistering 5th wicket stand. Perera's 50 coming off 23 deliveries and saw Sri Lanka plunder 65 runs from the final 6 overs of their innings.
Meanwhile, England's innings got off to a dismal start as Moeen Ali was bowled by Tilakaratne Dilshan. Alex Hales followed shortly after, also falling to Dilshan. Skipper Alistair Cook failed to impress, being caught by Mahela at slip off the bowling of Suranga Lakmal. James Taylor and Ian Morgan followed in quick succession as Joe Root began running out of partners.
No one in the deep.
Root and Butler managed to get some sort of momentum, but that ended with Butler being caught off the bowling of Sikuge Prasanna. Chris Wokes then joined Root to keep England in the match, albeit by a thread. Wokes was eventually bowled by Dilruwan Pereira. England's hopes were all but ended when Joe Root was adjudged LBW on review of the bowling of Prasanna. Chris Jordan became Prasanna's third victim shortly afterwards. A short while ago, England were on 204 for the loss of 9 wickets after 42.3 overs.
Third 50 in a row for Joe Root. Under pressure. In the deep, Chandimao picks him up, beautifully tossed up by Sikuge Prasanna.
Bowling, Dilruwan Pereira has struck. Well, that has to be good.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I am Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Shamir Rasuldeen. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Till then, take care
and good night.